Thanks for joining us. I'm Megan Roberts. We begin tonight in the Yukon, where the principal of a Whitehorse Catholic school has stepped down after accusing the local bishop of bullying and overstepping his authority. Maria Gray had been at Holy Family Elementary School since 2021, but she says she's reached a breaking point. Jackie Hong reports.
Gray declined to be interviewed. However, CBC News obtained a letter that she sent to the school council last week. In it, Gray attributes her decision to the behavior of Bishop Hector Vila. Gray accuses him of interfering in school operations, particularly around inclusivity. She also alleges bullying and harassment and says there's a lack of checks and balances for the bishop's authority within Yukon Catholic schools. Gray says policy changes are desperately needed. The bishop's office said it's aware of the situation. It directed media requests to the Chancery, which hadn't responded by Monday evening. The Department of Education also did not provide comment. In a separate goodbye letter to school families, Gray says she's filled with overwhelming gratitude and deep sadness. She also urges families to continue to support school staff and council. The school council is holding its regular monthly meeting tonight, where the topic is expected to be a hot-button issue. Jackie Hong, CBC News, Whitehorse.
One man has been arrested after allegedly pointing a gun at a security guard outside Yellowknife's hospital. RCMP received a complaint about the incident on Saturday afternoon. When they arrived, the suspect had fled the scene, and RCMP and police dog services began a search. Officers arrested him about 20 minutes later. The 25-year-old is facing several weapons-related charges. NWT RCMP say they've arrested a suspect in a stabbing in Fort Good Hope on Friday evening. The victim was seriously injured and had to be flown out of the community for emergency medical treatment. In a news release Monday, RCMP say a suspect was quickly identified and arrested. A 27-year-old woman is charged with aggravated assault. She's been released and scheduled to appear in court in June. Police say the victim and suspect are known to each other, so they don't believe there's a risk to the public. 780 children in Nunavut are waiting for dental surgery. That's according to the territory's Minister of Health. John Main made that declaration during Nunavut's Committee of the Whole on Friday. George Hicks is the committee's chair. He encouraged the minister to work on fixing the backlog.
As the minister is very well aware, children that are having dental issues, especially in that level of seriousness, impacts their diet, their sleep, their education, you name it. There's so many different aspects of their life that are negatively impacted.
Maine said the wait list is down from 2023. At that time, it was about 1,000 children. An advisory committee is working toward building the Yukon's new health authority. The committee says it's currently taking stock of how Yukoners access care and developing community health and wellness plans, but it's going to be a while before it's operational.
We envision that it's still a couple of years minimum, but to get Shokwa fully operational or move it into an operational phase. But again, those decisions also will be made by the government of the day. But our job is to continue to be aggressive with our work plans.
Shokwa is the authority's Southern Shoshone name. It'll be an arm's-length government agency that delivers health and social services. It'll manage the Yukon Hospital Corporation, as well as detox, counseling, and social work services. A Facebook post by a Yellowknife MLA has not impeded a minister's ability to do her job. That's the ruling by Northwest Territories Speaker Shane Thompson today. NWT Finance Minister Caroline Wozniak brought the Facebook post into the Legislative Assembly as a point of privilege last week. The post, written by MLA Kieran Testart, made allegations of backroom deals between cabinet and regular members. A point of privilege is a legislative tool MLAs can use to address something they believe impedes their ability to do their job. Today, the Speaker ruled against that point of privilege, but he had a message for MLAs.
The points of privilege and points of order raised lately are concerning. The people we represent in this Assembly are also concerned about the behavior that they're seeing. And I've been spoken to numerous times on the street here and in my own riding. I expect more of you as members of this Legislative Assembly. The people who elected us do too. We're here to work together for the benefit of all people of this territory. We were not elected to quarrel and bicker. This isn't what our people expect or need.
That was NWT Speaker Shane Thompson. The GNWT also announced an increase to its debt limit today. It says the federal government has approved an increase to $3.1 billion. The previous limit was $1.8 billion, and the territory was getting dangerously close to hitting it. The GNWT says its debt remains fairly low, with payments on it consuming about 5% of total revenues. Yellowknife City Council is poised to end an agreement that reserves Tin Can Hill for the site of a polytechnic university. At a committee meeting today, the city's manager said both Aurora College and the NWT government are also in favor of the decision. There was a memorandum of understanding signed between the parties to secure the green space for a new campus. However, plans for the Polytechnic School have stalled in recent months. And according to the city, the college is no longer looking to build a new campus at the location anytime soon. Councillors will vote on whether to end the agreement next week. CBC reached out to Aurora College for comment, but has not yet heard back. One of the world's largest mining and exploration conferences began yesterday in Toronto. The annual Prospectors and Developers Association of Canada conference sees representatives from more than 135 countries. Leaders from the North are among those attendees. The executive director of the Yukon Chamber of Mines hopes to capitalize on global interest in critical minerals and gold.
I'm looking forward to hearing what our member companies, what their meetings are producing, what they're hearing from potential investors and their colleagues, so we can bring it back here to the Yukon government. This is going to be an interesting year. Gold is at an all-time high. We have this renewed interest in critical minerals. One of the more significant things is it's an election year.
The executive director of the NWT and Nunavut Chamber of Mines says her focus at the conference will be on advocacy.
Northwest Territories and Nunavut are great geology, but as great geology is not going to get you everywhere. We need to deliver the message that we do need some additional leverages. We need a north of 60 mineral exploration tax credit. We need to continue the work on regulatory streamlining and simplification.
Costello says it's time to communicate the importance of investing in northern infrastructure. The PDAC conference runs until March 5th. The Ivakak dog sled race in Nunavik is heating up. The competitors have reached Kuujjuaq. Charlie Angnatuk and Zacharias Saunders from Tasiuyak are in the lead. Willie Kane Jr. and Tamisa Saunders are close behind in second place. The 11 teams will overnight in Kuujjuaq tonight, and tomorrow they're heading to Tasiuyak, and they're expected to arrive on Wednesday. One musher from Kuujjuaq reflects on what the race means to the community.
It brings back a lot for us. It brings celebration, joy, brings joy to the community when everybody gets together, especially from other communities. And it brings a sense of pride and physical and mental health for the mushers.
Each day, the dog teams travel up to 80 kilometers on relatively flat terrain. The race goes from Umiuyak to Pivernatuk and passes through Inukjuak.
Forced and coerced sterilization of Indigenous people is still happening. The Survivors Circle for Reproductive Justice has supports available for Indigenous survivors. Join the National Registry and access up to $70,000 in healing support funds for individuals, families, and communities. The deadline to apply is March 31st. If you or someone you know has experienced forced and coerced sterilization, please call 1-877-386-0750 or visit reproductivejusticesurvivors.ca for more information.
Having 2 kids in diapers impacts every part of our lives. The Canada Child Benefit allows us to give our boys extracurricular activities. It opens their world.
Find out if you qualify at canada.ca/everydollar-counts.
I was fighting losing battles with opponents disguised as friends. and coming home to a different fight that never ends. I saw no other choice. I had to leave a roof for the rain. But sometimes I wonder if there was a path with more to gain. Maybe the opportunities would have been better, and every day would take me further towards something greater.
To help create new paths for youth experiencing homelessness, the Home Depot Canada Foundation is committing $125 million by 2030.
In your once stolen vehicle in West Africa.
That is crazy. Jumped in a car and then off they went.
I want my truck back. 300% increase in auto theft.
300%.
It's organized crime, well financed.
They are selling vehicles that are insecure.
They're working on it.
We hear that from a lot of automakers.
Yeah.
We think we found your car.
Oh my goodness.
This was the scene in downtown Whitehorse on Friday, where some Yukoners were inspired to organize an impromptu demonstration for Ukraine. It was following a heated exchange between U.S. President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in the Oval Office. Residents said they were compelled to do something. Yukoners with roots in Ukraine had especially strong feelings.
Unbelievable. I mean, ridiculous. The world's turned upside down. This is not how world leaders should behave in the first place. Never mind acting like Ukraine started the fighters responsible for the war, or has, any culpability in this beginning. I mean, it's the what was said and how Zelensky was treated by Trump advance. Unbelievable, disgusting.
A video of the rally will be sent to Whitehorse's Ukrainian sister city, Kyiv. Donald Trump says 25% tariffs on Canadian imports will start on Tuesday. Speaking from the White House this afternoon, the U.S. president said there's no room left to make a deal. But Ottawa says it's ready to hit back with billions in retaliatory measures when and if the levies kick in. Olivia Stefanovich has the latest from Ottawa.
On the eve of the latest tariff deadline.
We don't know what's coming tomorrow. I'm not even sure if President Trump knows what's coming tomorrow.
Confusion from Canadian officials.
I'd love to say that I know all the answers. I don't, and I wish I had a better answer for Canadians and those whose jobs are at risk.
I have no news to report on that front. The fact is that our government's first duty is to try and avoid these tariffs.
The Trump administration previously said the levies could be all but avoided.
The Mexicans and the Canadians have done a nice job on the border, meaning you have illegal crossings at their lowest level ever.
But the U.S. president himself says the plan to impose sweeping tariffs on his top two trading partners is moving full steam ahead.
On the tariffs, is there any room left for Canada and Mexico to make a deal before midnight?
No room left for Mexico or for Canada. No, the tariffs, they're all set. They go into effect tomorrow.
As Donald Trump added yet another reason for his decision.
Tomorrow, tariffs 25% on Canada and 25% on Mexico, and that'll start. So they're going to have a tariff. So what they have to do is build their car plants, frankly, and other things in the United States, in which case they have no tariffs.
If Trump is imposing tariffs, we're ready.
Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister says Ottawa is prepared with a $155 billion retaliatory response.
There's a level of unpredictability and chaos that comes out of the Oval Office, and we will be dealing with it.
The decision that's been announced, I think, is deeply regrettable and will have a very significant impact, not just on Canadians, but also on Americans. And so the dialogue will continue. But we are prepared to respond as required.
Unless he changes his mind, Trump's first round of tariffs are expected to take effect at midnight, marking the biggest increase to trade barriers that Canada has ever seen. Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News, Ottawa.
Trump's proposed tariffs include a 10% levy on oil imports into the U.S. Crude is Canada's largest export moneymaker, and the threat is forcing the federal government to reconsider cross-country pipelines to get our oil to other markets. Sam Sampson has more on how the industry is preparing.
Looming U.S. tariffs have some oil rig workers concerned.
The oil sands are employing less and less people as automation, and so it was already a nervous time. This is just adding to that. So there's definitely some frustration.
U.S. President Donald Trump's proposed tariffs could slap a 10% levy on Canadian energy exports to the U.S. That would hit the largest export moneymaker, crude oil. Most of it comes from Alberta, which brought in more than $113 billion selling oil to the U.S. in 2023. For the first time since 2020, Alberta is posting a deficit, and how deep the hole goes depends on tariffs.
Budget for the worst, hope for the best, and make sure government has the flexibility to respond.
I think everyone is just guessing at this point.
This energy consultant was Alberta's representative to Washington during Trump's first administration. She hopes the past month was full of industry one-on-ones.
Behind the scenes, they can be having conversations with their American buyers, with refiners and others that use the resource to really explain the impacts that the tariffs will have on the United States and how Canada is part of the solution.
One solution gaining momentum, building cross-Canada pipelines so Alberta's oil can get to international waters from Canadian ports, so we could sell to countries other than the U.S. Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe said any pipeline is pre-approved in his province. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith wants to get on the same page. East to west pipeline plans have been drawn up and shut down in the past, mostly due to environmental concerns or low provincial and community support. Now, some say climate change regulations would still hinder future plans.
Are we going to be obsessed with emission reductions regardless of how economically punitive they are to the country? Or are we going to accept that in a world that can't bring itself to be materially moving towards net zero, why would Canada give up this value?
Canada's emission reductions plan makes it clear the focus is on addressing climate change while creating a strong economy. Still, these tariffs, no matter how they play out, have sparked even more discussion on how that could work. Sam Sampson, CBC News, Edmonton.
It's a day that's been nearly 2 decades in the making. Survivors of the Île-Lacrosse residential school in northern Saskatchewan have finally settled a class action lawsuit against Ottawa. But the fight for recognition and compensation isn't over. Jeremy Warren has that story.
They signed the agreement in principle last week, 17 years after survivors of the Île-Lacrosse residential boarding school sued Ottawa. The settlement establishes a pool of $27.3 million for survivors or their families, plus a $10 million community fund.
For the Government of Canada to come to the table and sign on to an agreement to settle the Île-Lacrosse residential school. It truly is a very historic moment.
The Catholic-operated school ran from the 1860s to 1970s. More than 1,500 Métis and Indigenous children were forced to attend the school. Survivors have spoken about the physical and mental abuse they endured, but Ottawa hasn't officially recognized their trauma because the school predates the federal residential school system.
I thank the people, our elders and our survivors, that were adamant, that we needed the same recognition as all residential schools across this country.
Ottawa will also apologize to survivors as part of the agreement, but the legal fight isn't over. Survivors are still pursuing a lawsuit against Saskatchewan. The group hopes to avoid litigation and is sending the province a settlement proposal.
In this settlement, Canada has sort of we'll take 50% of the blame. Saskatchewan needs to take the other 50%, and they need to compensate our survivors.
About 500 survivors are still alive. The oldest are in their late 90s. A final formal agreement is being drafted by both parties. Once it's finalized, the Métis Nation says the claims process will be expedited. Jeremy Warren, CBC News, Saskatoon.
The federal government is providing more than $7 million toward Nunavut's National School Food Program. The money will expand the current program that serves over 11,000 students in the territory. Federal and territorial officials were at Nanook School in Apex on Friday for the announcement. Nunavut's education minister welcomed the funding, which will be doled out over the next 3 years.
This funding will strengthen existing school food programs and allow us to better assess the needs and capacity of our school's infrastructure, which supports this programming.
The money will go towards staffing and upgrading kitchen facilities. It'll also be targeted toward nutritious meals and access to traditional food. The federal Minister of Families, Children and Social Development says more money is needed to reach all Canadian children experiencing food insecurity.
This is a $1 billion promise to kids, to families across this country, a promise that we are working hard to deliver on to ensure that no matter where you are in this country, that you have access to food at school.
Suds says the announcement is part of an ongoing effort to make life more affordable for families across the country. Nunavut has the highest food prices and highest rate of food insecurity in Canada. Meanwhile, there's a new country food and bulk store in Iqaluit. The Kayaktovik Community Food Centre runs the store and celebrated its grand opening on Friday. The CBC's Mahnur Mubarak has more.
An ulu was used to cut a ribbon marking the official opening of the store. It's called a Kinnuckvik Country Food and Bulk Store. People can buy country food like caribou, Arctic char, and muskox, as well as items like nuts, seasoning, cinnamon sticks, and tea. Francine Doucette is the co-executive director of the food center. She says the store soft launched in December and people have been positive.
A lot of excitement, a lot of happy people. Our most popular item is caribou, but other things are popular as well, like the fish and the dry goods.
Doucette also says the store is meant to help with food security. The food store has 3 prices where customers can choose which one to pay: a low price point, medium price, and wholesale value. At the counter and throughout the store, you can see images of char, nanook, and narwhal, each representing the different price points. Nunavut MP Laurie Idlout was one of the people who spoke at the opening. She says the store will provide an economic opportunity for hunters and can make country food more accessible for people new to Iqaluit who don't know the land and can't go out hunting themselves.
It's a wonderful opportunity for Inuit to be able to buy country food that they love so much from Kinnuckvik.
Project Nunavut is considered a social enterprise and helps connect Kinnuckvik with hunters. The store receives country food from hunters across the territory. Mahnur Mubarak, CBC News, Iqaluit.
It's quite rare to catch a shooting star on camera. So imagine setting up a meteor observation network to study these cosmic fireballs and getting lucky. That is what happened to the staff at the Montreal Planetarium on Sunday. And here's what comes next.
That's the best gift you can have. Hi, I'm Maureen Egal. I'm an astrophysicist and science advisor at the Planetarium of Montreal, and I'm a member of the DOME camera network. And today we're going to talk about a very special event that occurred 2 nights ago, because we had our first ever well-detected meteorite fall over Quebec. We have these professional camera networks that are dedicated to meteor observations. And now we're at the step where we have found a trace of this very bright fireball that appeared in the sky of Quebec 2 nights ago. We know a meteorite has fallen near to Drummondville, and so we're really intending to find it. When I found out that this happened, to be honest, I was skiing and enjoying my Sunday, and I just stopped everything to download the data and investigated what happened, because time is of the essence, and for us it's really important to find it as soon as possible, so we have a sample which is not contaminated by the Earth's environment. So as scientists, we're extremely excited when a meteorite fall happens, because when we receive a meteorite, we literally have a piece of the solar system that just falls into our labs. Meteorites are kind of like jewelries from space. They really hold so much knowledge about where we come from, how planets form, how the solar system evolved. We only had 2 events since 2018 that raised our interest, that we wanted to analyze. And this one is really the first one for which we have possible chances of finding a meteorite on the ground. So it's a rare event. If you can take a few minutes to look around you and just try to spot a tiny black rock of more or less this size. This is our estimate of the final mass for the Quebec fall, between 30 grams and 90 grams. This is super exciting. Please contact us, send us some pictures. It's really an opportunity we don't want to miss.
And that is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, go to cbc.ca/north. Thank you for watching. I'm Megan Roberts. Have a good night.
I was fighting losing battles with opponents disguised as friends, and coming home to a different fight that never ends. I saw no other choice. I had to leave a roof for the rain. But sometimes I wonder if there was a path with more to gain. Maybe the opportunities would have been better, and every day would take me further towards something greater.
To help create new paths for youth experiencing homelessness, the Home Depot Canada Foundation is committing $125 million by 2030.
In your once stolen vehicle in West Africa.
That is crazy. Jumped in a car and then off they went.
I want my truck back.
300% increase in auto theft.
300%.
It's organized crime, well-financed.
They are selling vehicles that are insecure.
They're working on it.
We hear that from a lot of automakers.
Yeah.
We think we found your car.
Oh my goodness.
Earth is our collective home. That makes us all family. As family, we strive to love and protect each other. Diversity of species is our strength. We are all connected. We survive and thrive together. We celebrate many things this season and make many choices. Taking care of our family should be the easiest. We're in this together.
One good scheme deserves another.
Stay on him.
I feel we may be in for a challenging few days.
Cheers. Cheers.
Stream anytime. CBC News.